A brilliant moment to you, ladies and gentlemen. It's winter here in Southern Africa, and a cup of coffee will make it happen. In my previous video, I spoke about Zero Trust Network Architecture, and in this video, I will be speaking about Universal Zero Trust Network Architecture, which is an improved version of the Zero Trust Network Architecture, which allows you to access your resources from anywhere, wherever you are, and enjoy the benefits of applying Zero Trust Network Architecture in your infrastructure or architecture. Let's dive in. Hello, if you haven't watched my video on Zero Trust Network Architecture, please check my video on comment section. Today I want to talk about another concept, which is the Universal Trust Network Architecture. So the Universal Trust Network Architecture is a bit similar to the ordinary ZTNA that we spoke about in our previous video. However, to define the Universal Trust Network Architecture, these are tools, techniques, policies that establish the ZTNA principles. But now it's regardless of where someone is located or the type of architecture that you are using. Usually, some define this as a software-defined ZTNA, as it is defined at the software level. You don't need to be located in the office for ZTNA to be applied. You don't need to be using a certain platform for you to be able to have ZTNA applied to you. So the ordinary ZTNA, by definition, is defined as a platform that works for different people, depending on where they are located. Access to apps may work. Sometimes, let's say you are at a branch office here, the access to apps may work when you are at this branch, but when you are home, it may fail under ZTNA. But when we're talking about Universal ZTNA, whether you are at your office, you are at your data center, you are home, you are traveling, you are trying to access from a platform, maybe on cloud, the ZTNA principles will always be applied to you, and you achieve this by accessing the ZTNA fabric, which is the Universal ZTNA, and which does all the authentication, all the checks, and the verifications that are required for this user to access any of these resources or any of the locations that they are trying to access. As I indicated earlier, that with ZTNA, it's usually not location independent. It depends on location, on where you are located, or also at times it can be dependent on the architecture that you are riding on. But with Universal ZTNA, we are saying regardless of where you are located, regardless of location, the principles of ZTNA will still apply to you. Usually it's associated with work from anywhere. We're saying that wherever you are, you can work. Zero trust principles are applied even if you are in an aeroplane, even if you are on the cloud platform. The zero trust principles are applied, and it rides on the least privilege principle that is applied to you whether you are working in the office or you are working from home or wherever you are connecting from. So the least privilege principle is the base of the Universal ZTNA. And what are the drivers for ZTNA? So we're talking about you have got your campus network, and you have got your remote work. So we need frictionless, seamless experience between these two. When you leave the campus and when you are home, when you leave the campus and you are traveling, we need you to seamlessly access these applications that are on cloud, and this can be enabled using the Universal Zero Trust Network Architecture. Anywhere, access, work from anywhere, least privilege, we are not location dependent, and we are not architecture dependent. So we're saying on any platform, we're saying we define this at a software level, the software defined Zero Trust Network Architecture. Some of the advantages, talking about you have full control, you have visibility of your traffic. You can control your traffic because you have got This zero trust network architecture fabric, the universal zero trust network architecture fabric, that is responsible for your traffic. So you've got control over your traffic. You can easily deny, you can easily allow access. And then you have got access control for all your users, devices, and workloads. With the universal zero trust network architecture, everything is defined on software. So you are able to control any access of your resources, your workloads, your users, what your users access, which resources should be accessed. And then also the issue of direct access. Using this principle, you don't need to pass through the campus to access these resources that resides here. So you have got a direct access to the resource that you want to access. And this reduces latency and experience issues. Then there's also flexible deployment options that are available. There are different options, different vendors that are offering this. We have got the likes of Zscaler, the likes of Fortinet. So we have got lots of vendors that are offering this solution. Apart from these advantages, you need to take note that the universal zero trust network architecture relies on the cloud-based services and microsegmentation technique. And at times the cloud relies always on the availability of internet. And if that internet is not available, at times you might not be able to access the resources that you want to access because this fabric is not available to give you that access. So that is one of the challenge at times. Those people that are used to the traditional ZTNA, which is based on microsegmentation of the network, compared to the ZTNA, which uses the cloud-based approach to check access, to provision access, to control access of resources within an enterprise architecture. So in conclusion, universal zero trust network architecture is an improved zero trust network architecture which doesn't rely on location, which doesn't rely on architecture, which allows you to experience the benefits of zero trust network architecture in your environment whilst you are working remotely, whilst you are using different architectures. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you for viewing. I hope this has been informative. Follow me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch TV for more. For now, bye-bye.